citizens who are taking part in the survey want their president to act, while about 60% say that America should stay away from the civil war. When asked about Washington's support for the opposition, about 1/10 said that Obama should do more for the rebels than just arming them, while almost 90% don't want America to help the opposition in any way.
While many Western leaders call for a military strike in Syria, some of their citizens are opposed to a costly military intervention at a time of economic austerity at home. A group of demonstrators gathered outside the Prime Minister's office in London after Britain sought UN backing for action against the Syrian government.
But they're going to make it worse, they're going to ruin it, and they're going to make it like Iraq, and we don't want it to happen there. We don't want Syria to be same as Iraq.
The indiscriminate slaughter of civilians, the killing of women and children and innocent bystanders by chemical weapons is a moral obscenity. By any standard, it is inexcusable, and despite the excuses and equivocations that some have manufactured, it is undeniable.
All the U.S. brings behind is death and destruction. It's the United States, which is the most genocidal, murdering regime which has ever existed on the face of this planet.
What's happened has been heartbreaking, but when you start talking about chemical weapons in a country that has the largest stockpile of chemical weapons in the world, where over time their control over chemical weapons may erode, where they're allied to known terrorist organizations that in the past have targeted the United States, then there is a prospect, a possibility in which chemical weapons that can have devastating effects could be directed at us.
Protesters rallied outside Downing Street on Wednesday against possible British military intervention in Syria, as Prime Minister David Cameron recalled Parliament to discuss the response to the alleged use of chemical weapons against civilians by the Syrian regime.
The weapons inspectors are in the midst of their work and will be reporting in the coming days. That is why today could not have been the day when the House was asked to decide on military action. For this House, it is surely a basic point. Evidence should precede decision, not decision precede evidence.
It is clear to me that the British Parliament, reflecting the views of the British people, does not want to see British military action. I get that, and the government will act accordingly.
When even members of the British Parliament are calling out your war propaganda for what it is, I think you have a PR problem on your hands. And that is exactly what the Western allies of the imperialist warhawk faction have on their hands right now, trying to sell this war to a public that is very weary and wary of interventions in Middle Eastern countries after the debacles of the past decade, and the complicity of the corporate mainstream dinosaur media in all of these adventures abroad. So I think the public is definitely waking up to this, and I don't know about people's personal experiences out there, but from what I've seen in basically every website that I've seen these types of stories being posted on, including the dinosaur mainstream media websites, comment after comment after comment is calling out this propaganda for what it is. And that is a hardening sign. People really are waking up to the tricks, and I'm seeing more and more people, even in mainstream discourse, raising the possibility of maybe this was a false flag. And there's a lot of good reasons for believing exactly that. And in fact, I'll throw a link in the show notes for today's episode to an oilprice.com website link that talks specifically about the reasons that not only was this almost certainly a false flag chemical attack to be blamed on Assad, but actually perpetrated by the terrorists in Syria, but that the US probably knew about it in advance. And that's an interesting article coming from a relatively mainline site like oilprice.com. So I will throw that link in.